Ever since King Von's death, it's been non-stop smoke in the streets, and his people haven't let up one bit. Von's day ones have been sliding, dissing, and making sure everybody knows the war didn't die with him. But this time, they didn't just keep it in the streets. They brought the heat straight to IG Live and let the world watch it unfold. From Lil Durk targeting Quando Rondo to Von's closest affiliates putting in work, it's been all-out warfare for Von, and in this video, we're breaking down exactly how they've been taking their revenge. The tragic shooting of King Von, born Davon Daquan Bennett on August 9, 1994, came up out of Chicago's notoriously dangerous O-Block neighborhood as one of drill music's most promising young talents. Getting put on by Lil Durk's Only the Family label, Von quickly made a name for himself with his raw storytelling that painted vivid pictures of life in the trenches. His debut album, Welcome to O-Block, dropped just a week before his death and was already blowing up, showcasing his undeniable skills on the mic. But on November 6, 2020, everything changed when King Von was fatally shot outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta during a confrontation between his squad and associates of rapper Quando Rondo. What started as some verbal back and forth between the two crews quickly turned physical before shots rang out in the parking lot. According to the footage that later hit the internet, Von was the first to throw hands at Quando Rondo. Timothy Lul Tim Leaks, one of Quando's homies, allegedly pulled out and started busting. In the chaos that followed, 6 people caught bullets, including Von and 2 others who didn't make it. In the hours ere the shooting, the timeline was going crazy with fans desperate for updates on Von's condition. At first, there was mad confusion about whether Von got hit by police who responded to the scene, but ATLPD later clarified that he caught his fatal rounds during the initial altercation between the two crews, before the boys in blue even showed up. Some heartbreaking moments in the aftermath were when Lil Reese found out about King Von's death.
Man, my girl woke me up and told me, like, yo, homie just got killed. I was like, what you mean, who? She was like, Von. And then I got on the internet and I seen everything. I was just like, damn. I was f***ed up off the
Another was captured on Instagram Live when Von's day one and mentor Lil Durk found out about the shooting in real time. Durk was on IG Live when fans started flooding the comments saying Von got shot, causing him to abruptly end the stream. This gut-wrenching moment went viral, amplifying the shock and grief that rippled through the rap community. Durk later posted a heartfelt tribute typing, "My twin gone, I love you baby bro, D. Roy," before deactivating his Instagram for months. The bond between King Von and Lil Durk ran way deeper than just business moves. Though they weren't blood relatives, Durk regularly called Von his baby bro, or twin, reflecting their tight-knit relationship forged in the trenches of O-Block. Their connection was both personal and professional. With Durk signing Von to OTF in 2018, Air Von came home from a 3.5-year bid. Durk's guidance helped Von level up from a street figure to a rising rap star with serious buzz. With Durk in his corner, Von dropped heat like Crazy Story, which peaked at number 81 on the Billboard Hot 100, putting the world on notice to his exceptional storytelling abilities and authentic street cred. Their collabs, including Crazy Story 2.0 and All These further cemented their chemistry on wax and their brotherhood in real life. To really understand what led to Von's death, we gotta examine the tension that had been brewing between these different sets in the rap game. This fatal encounter with Quando Rondo's crew didn't just pop off out of nowhere. There was already smoke in the air. According to what was playing out on social media and in interviews, the beef between King Von and Quando Rondo might have been connected to NBA YoungBoy, since Quando is affiliated with YoungBoy's Never Broke Again collective. There was already some underlying static between Lil Durk's OTF camp and NBA YoungBoy's crew, which possibly extended to their respective homies. In a later interview, Quando Rondo claimed the incident popped off when King Von's squad approached aggressively and he got hit, prompting his crew to respond in self-defense. He described the event as an out-of-body experience, insisting his people weren't prepared for a confrontation. However, surveillance footage that later hit the internet showed Von throwing the first punch at Quando before shots rang out, which complicated the narrative about who actually started the violence. In the immediate aftermath, Timothy Lul Tim Leaks got booked and charged with felony murder in connection with Von's death. Despite murder being a non-bondable offense in Georgia, Leaks' lawyer managed to convince the Superior Court to set a $100,000 bond, and Leaks was released on March 27, 2021, rocking an ankle monitor. This decision had Von's fans and associates heated. Asian Doll, Von's ex, went off on social media, echoing what many felt that the system wasn't serving justice for Von. In an even more shocking twist, in August 2023, the felony murder charges against Leaks Leaks got dropped before the case even went to trial. Leaks' attorney confirmed to the press that prosecutors dropped the charges, reportedly because they believed the shooting was self-defense. A legal analyst explained that the dismissal didn't mean Leaks was innocent, just that there wasn't enough evidence to convict beyond reasonable doubt. The dismissal added more fuel to the fire of debates in the culture. Asian Doll claimed in a since-deleted tweet that the police said Tim ain't kill him, the police did, though there's no evidence backing this up. Making matters worse, Leaks dropped a track called Leah Stain shortly ere the dismissal, where he bragged about beating the case, further antagonizing Von's supporters. Von's death left a massive void in Chicago's drill scene and ignited what would become an ongoing cycle of get back. The ripple effects would reach far beyond that night in Atlanta, leading to more violence, legal drama, and tragedy for people connected to both sides of the beat. In a 2021 interview, King Von's former manager, Track, broke down the eerie similarity between Von's death and another hip-hop legend, Tupac Shakur.
Bro, it's past fair. It's kind of crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's the same scenario. And Von is like the same type of artist, same type of guy. Like, it's just saying God must have had a plan, and the plan got to be probably bigger than we all know it is, because it's crazy how that scenario kind of fit with him.
This comparison highlights the wild parallels between the two cases. Both Tupac and King Von were rising stars, keeping it 100 in their music and their lives, and both got taken out air initiating physical confrontations that quickly escalated to deadly violence. But Von's story doesn't end with his death or the dropped charges against Timothy Leaks. In the months and years that followed, a series of alleged retaliatory moves would keep the beef alive, and social media would play a central role in documenting the continued violence, including the alleged targeting of Quando Rondo, the murder for hire plot. King Von's death hit his day one, Lil Durk, especially hard. Durk's album, The Voice, which dropped in December 2020, was dedicated to Von, with cover art featuring both rappers and the phrase, "Long Live Grandson." The project served as both a tribute to Von and a way for Durk to process losing his brother. But beyond the music, there were signs that Von's death had set something much darker in motion, plans for revenge that would allegedly materialize in a complex murder for hire scheme targeting Quando Rondo. For almost 2 years, Air Von got killed. Tension simmered between OTF and Quando Rondo's circle. Then, in August 2022, a shocking incident went down that would later be connected to this ongoing beef. Quando Rondo was targeted in a shooting at an LA gas station that took out his cousin, Saviaya Lul Pab Robinson. At the time, nobody knew for sure if this was related to Von's death, but federal charges filed in October 2024 would paint a disturbing picture of alleged retaliation. According to the feds, 5 dudes from Chicago, Kayvon London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and Asa Houston caught conspiracy to commit murder for hire charges, murder for hire resulting in death, and use of a machine gun in a violent crime resulting in death. These charges came from their alleged involvement in the 2022 shooting that killed Lul Pab. The indictment contained some explosive claims about why the hit went down. It alleged that the plot was motivated by Quando Rondo's perceived involvement in King Von's 2020 death, with an unnamed co-conspirator, widely believed to be Lil Durk, allegedly offering money and lucrative music opportunities with OTF to those willing to smoke Rondo. The details of the alleged plot, as laid out in the indictment, were mad calculated. Ayer finding out Rondo was staying at an LA hotel. Wilson supposedly recruited Jones, Lindsay, and Houston to fly from Chicago to California. Grant, pulling up via private jet from Miami, provided the burner, including one modified to function as a fully automatic machine gun. The squad used a rented white BMW sedan and a white Infiniti sedan with fake plates to track and bust at Rondo. What makes these allegations particularly crazy is the apparent planning and resources put into the operation. Flights and rental whips were allegedly paid for with credit cards linked to OTF. Ere the shooting, the crew reportedly dipped to a burger spot to talk about payments, and Jones and Lindsay later got paid for their roles. The federal case took an even more serious turn in October 2024 when Lil Durk got picked up near Miami International Airport on charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire. An FBI affidavit cited unnamed witnesses claiming Durk had put a bag on Quando Rondo's head following Von's death. Though Durk wasn't explicitly named in the indictment as the co-conspirator offering incentives, the use of OTF-linked credit cards and his position as the head of the collective strongly pointed to him. Durk has maintained his innocence, with his lawyers arguing that prosecutors misled the grand jury and that there's not enough evidence connecting him directly to the plot. The trial was originally set for January 7th, 2025, but got pushed back to October 2025 because the case is so complex, with over 230 gigabytes of digital evidence and more than 20,000 pages of paperwork. It's worth noting that this isn't the only legal drama allegedly connected to King Von's death and its air math. In October 2024, the estate of FBG Duck, another Chicago rapper killed in August 2020, filed a lawsuit against King Von's estate, Lil Durk, and OTF Records. The lawsuit claims that Von put a $50,000, $100,000 bounty on FBG Duck's head, linking OTF to a pattern of orchestrating hits. These allegations, if proven true, paint a disturbing picture of how street beef in the drill scene can escalate into organized violence with deadly consequences. They also highlight how gang culture, music, and business can get tangled up in ways that blur ethical and legal lines. Now let's switch gears and talk about another aspect of this whole saga, how Instagram Live has been used to broadcast violence in the hip-hop community, particularly incidents involving King Von's affiliates and other rappers caught in similar situations. As we mentioned earlier, Lil Durk was on IG Live when he found out about Von's shooting, with fans flooding the comments section with the news. But there have been other more direct instances of violence captured on Instagram Live involving rappers, some connected to the broader Chicago drill scene that King Von was part of. One of the most shocking examples went down in July 2021, when Los Angeles rapper Indian Red Boy, Zerael Dijon Rivera, was fatally shot while broadcasting on Instagram Live. The 21-year-old rapper was sitting in his whip, talking with social media influencer Capone on IG Live, when an unknown shooter approached and let off at least 12 rounds. The shooting was captured live, showing Rivera struggling to speak and asking for help before he collapsed. Another incident involving Instagram Live happened in November 2020, when Alabama rapper Honeycomb Brazy caught 8 slugs while broadcasting on the platform. Brazy was flexing a Kobe Bryant jersey outside a barbershop when ops ambushed him, busting multiple shots at his car. Unlike Indian Red Boy, Brazy survived the attack AR being in a coma for a week, even though doctors initially thought he'd never walk again. Instagram Live has also been used by artists to address or taunt rivals AR violent incidents. Following King Von's death, OTF affiliates used the platform to pay tribute, sometimes escalating tensions by blaming ops or promising revenge. This dynamic creates a dangerous feedback loop where social media amplifies gang beefs, leading to real-world violence that is then broadcast back on these platforms, potentially inciting further conflict. As one Twitter user noted in discussing King Von's death and its air math, it represents a cycle of bullshit that has claimed too many lives in the hip-hop community. In Lil Tim's interview about the incident with King Von, he gives his perspective on what went down that night and the moments leading up to the shooting.
When you did finally find out that it was King Von who died, how'd you feel?
I was like, damn. If Brian did that stupid last night, his still would have been alive. That's how I was. But I was like, I ain't no the type person I am. Like, I'm a humble person. I ain't no disrespect to like his mama saying him like that.
On the issue of comparison between what happened to King Von and Tupac, Lil Tim had this to say.
A lot of people actually compare this to the Tupac situation, where Pac went and jumped on somebody on a crip that he should have put his hands on, and shortly afterwards they go back and they end up killing him. Do you see comparisons to your situation and what happened to Pac?
Yeah, not 100%, but pieces, yeah.
Beyond the specific incidents involving Instagram Live, there's a broader context of violence in the Chicago drill scene that King Von was part of. This music style, known for its raw lyrics about street life and gang conflicts, has been criticized for glorifying violence and potentially encouraging real-world conflicts. King Von himself was allegedly involved in multiple bodies before his rise to fame, though he was never convicted. A controversial documentary, King Von Rap's First Serial Killer by Trap Laura Ross, claimed Von was linked to as many as 10 bodies, including that of 17-year-old female gang member Gakura K.I. Barnes in 2014. The documentary was later pulled from YouTube following backlash from Von's family and fans, who criticized it for sensationalism and factual inaccuracies. Chicago police documents unsealed years ere Barnes' death named Von as the suspected shooter, though he was never charged due to insufficient evidence. The aftermath of King Von's death also saw controversial incidents beyond the alleged retaliation plot. In 2020, unauthorized autopsy photos of Von leaked online, prompting his sister Kayla B to demand the firing of the alleged mortician responsible. This violation of privacy caused major outrage among fans and raised questions about respect for the deceased in the digital age. The leaked photos further fueled conspiracy theories about Von's death, with some social media users speculating about foul play or betrayal. These theories gained traction because of the autopsy report's ambiguity, which confirmed multiple gunshot wounds but lacked detailed ballistic analysis. While the drill rap scene places emphasis on authenticity and keeping it real, it also Also, Owen blurs the line between art and actual street life, creating a dangerous environment where artistic expression can lead to deadly consequences. Let's take a look at the broader impact of these events on the hip-hop community. The impact. The story of King Von and the violence that followed his death highlights several critical issues that go way beyond the individuals directly involved. First among these is the cycle of retaliation that keeps violence going in the drill rap scene. As one user on Twitter described it, the sequence from Von's death to the alleged murder-for-hire plot represents a cycle of bullshit that's taken too many talented young lives. This cycle of violence was powerfully addressed in a moment that resurfaced in 2024. In a clip from the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast from 2022, co-host Wallow urged Lil Durk to avoid retaliating for King Von's death, sharing his own experience of forgiving his brother's killer. This message went viral on Twitter, with users praising Wallow's call to break the cycle of violence. In light of the later federal charges against Durk, looks like he didn't fancy Wallow's advice. The moment takes on added significance, suggesting a missed opportunity to choose a different path. The role of social media in amplifying and potentially fueling these beefs can't be overstated. Platforms like Instagram Live have created a new dynamic where private beefs become public spectacles, and violence is sometimes broadcast in real time to thousands or even millions of viewers. This instant publicity can escalate tensions, as disrespect or threats that might once have been contained within small circles now reach wide audiences, demanding a response to save face. The shootings of rappers like King Von and others, along with incidents where violence is captured on Instagram Live, raise questions about platform responsibility. While social media companies have policies against violent content, the live streaming format presents unique challenges. By the time content is flagged or removed, the damage may already be done, with videos archived and shared across other platforms. Beyond the immediate tragedy of lives lost, there's a broader impact on communities already facing significant challenges. Posts on Twitter and articles in outlets like the Chicago Sun-Times have framed Von's death within the context of systemic poverty and entrenched gang culture in Chicago's O-Block neighborhood. These factors create an environment where violence is normalized and sometimes even celebrated, particularly within drill music. The genre itself occupies a complicated position in this narrative. Drill rap, with its unrelenting portrayal of street life, has provided opportunities for artists like King Von to escape poverty through their art. However, the emphasis on authenticity and keeping it a buck can create pressure to maintain street cred, potentially encouraging risky behavior or preventing artists from fully leaving behind dangerous lifestyles. King Von's music exemplifies this contradiction. Tracks like Crazy Story showcase his exceptional storytelling abilities while depicting violent scenarios with disturbing detail. Some fans and critics have speculated that these songs may reference real events, including specific bodies, though Von maintained they were fictional narratives inspired by his environment. This raises tough questions about artistic expression versus the glorification of violence. Where's the line between documenting harsh realities and potentially promoting harmful behavior? And how should we engage with music that may be drawn from real acts of violence? The legal aftermath of these events is still unfolding, with significant implications for how law enforcement addresses violence in the hip-hop community. The federal murder-for-hire charges against Lil Durk and the 5 Chicago associates suggest increased scrutiny of rap collectives by authorities. This may impact how artists navigate their careers and public personas moving forward. Durk's legal team has mounted a strong defense, arguing that prosecutors misled the grand jury by claiming he bragged about the attack in a song recorded months before the incident. This highlights another controversial aspect of hip-hop prosecutions: the use of lyrics as potential evidence, a practice many artists and legal experts criticize as an infringement on artistic freedom. As the case moves toward its October 2025 trial date, it will likely set important precedents for how similar situations are handled in the future. The outcome could have far-reaching implications for artists, labels, and the broader hip-hop industry. For Quando Rondo, the aftermath of King Von's death has been challenging as well. Though he wasn't directly involved in the shooting, he faced significant backlash from Von's fans and associates. In a 2024 interview with the No Jumper podcast, Quando addressed the hate he received, dismissing it as irrelevant to his core audience. He has continued to drop music and address his legal and personal challenges, including a federal drug case. For those closest to King Von, the loss continues to hit hard. Von's former girlfriend, Asian DeBrat, frequently posts tributes to him on social media. Von's sister, Kayla B, has been vocal about preserving his legacy and protecting his memory, particularly ere the autopsy photo leak. Lil Reese, another close homie of Von, shared his perspective on the tragedy in an interview with DJ Vlad, expressing the profound impact of losing his friend. Von's career was cut short just as he was blowing up. His debut album, Welcome to O'Block, peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and later went platinum. Posthumous releases have continued, including the album What It Means to Be King in March 2022, which did numbers, showing Von's lasting appeal and the lingering question of what could have been if his life hadn't been cut short. The cultural impact of King Von's death reaches way beyond just his immediate circle. It's become part of a bigger conversation about violence in hip-hop, joining other high-profile losses like Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, and XXXTentacion. These deaths have made some people in the industry reflect on the real consequences of beefs that sometimes start as just rap disses or social media stunting but end in real bloodshed. Some artists have responded by calling for peace and an end to senseless violence. Others have doubled down on the authenticity that drill music demands, continuing to walk that fine line between keeping it real in their art and staying safe in real life. The drill scene, especially in Chicago, continues to produce new stars, but the shadow of Von's death and similar tragedies hangs heavy over their come-up. Fan reactions to these events show deep divisions within the hip-hop community. On platforms like Reddit's R Chiricology subreddit, discussions about King Von and Quando Rondo reflect polarized opinions. Some users feel where Quando's coming from when he says the beef escalated unnecessarily, while others hold that Von's actions made sense within street code. These debates get into deeper questions about responsibility, retaliation, and respect in environments where violence is normalized. The crashing out debate is particularly telling. On Reddit, users went back and forth about whether King Von's decision to run up on Quando Rondo in Atlanta territory that was arguably more Quando's turf was a fatal misstep. One commenter noted, "He rocked the without telling his folks. He was supposed to go somewhere. Bro crashed out that day and paid the price." This perspective suggests that Von's death was at least partly due to his own actions, complicating the victim narrative. Others have suggested that the beef ran deeper in the streets than what played out on social media. As one Reddit user put it, "This is deeper in the streets than it was on the net clearly, which is why blood was shed." This points to how outsiders only see a fraction of these conflicts, which have backstories and motivations not fully captured in public statements or social media posts. The phenomenon of violence broadcast on social media continues to evolve, with platforms implementing new policies and features to prevent the spread of graphic content. However, the challenge remains. Once something is streamed live, it can be recorded, shared, and reposted across multiple platforms, making complete content control virtually impossible. For artists coming up from environments like Chicago's O'Block, the path forward remains treacherous. Success in drill music, depends on authenticity and street cred, but maintaining those connections can keep artists tied to dangerous situations even as their careers provide opportunities to escape. King Von's trajectory, from alleged street violence to music stardom and back to a fatal confrontation, illustrates this difficult balancing act. Some artists have successfully transitioned away from street life while maintaining their artistic credibility. Others, like Von, have found themselves pulled back into beefs that ultimately proved fatal. This raises questions about the support systems available to artists from marginalized communities and the responsibility of labels, managers, and the industry as a whole to protect their well-being. The alleged murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo also highlights the sometimes blurry lines between music business and street operations. If the allegations are true that money and lucrative music opportunities with OTF were offered as incentives for violence, it suggests a troubling fusion of legitimate industry practices with criminal enterprise. This dynamic creates risks not just for the artists involved, but for everyone in their professional orbit. Looking ahead, the outcome of Lil Durk's trial in October 2025 will likely bring this chapter of the story to some form of legal conclusion, though the cultural and personal impacts will continue to reverberate. It's important to remember that behind the headlines, social media posts, and legal proceedings are real lives lost, damaged, or forever changed by these events. If you enjoyed this video, click on the videos on your screen for more.